up here and accompany George with the song. So this is a poem by Miller Williams. It's called The Curator. We thought it would come. We thought the Germans would come. We were almost certain they would. I was 32, the youngest assistant curator in the country. I had some good ideas in those days. Well, what we did was this, you see. We had boxes precisely built to every size of canvas. We put the boxes in the basement and waited. When word came that the Germans were coming in, we each got a painting in the proper box. And out of Leningrad in less than a week, they were stored somewhere in southern Russia. But what he did, we see, besides the boxes waiting in the basement, which was fine, a grand idea, you'll agree, and it saved the art. But what we did was we left the frames hanging so that after the war, it would be a simple thing to put the paintings back where they belonged. Nothing will seem surprised or sad again compared to those imperious, those vacant frames. Well, the staff stayed on to clean the rubble after the daily bombardments. We didn't dream. I mean, you know, it lasted 900 days. Much of the roof was lost, and the snow would lie sometimes a foot deep on this very floor, but the walls stood firm, and hardly a frame fell. Well, here's the story now. This is the story I want to tell you. Early one day, a dark December morning, we came upon 3 young soldiers waiting outside. They were pacing and swinging their arms against the cold. They told us this: in 3 homes far from here, all dreamed of one day coming to Leningrad to see this hermitage, as they supposed that every Soviet citizen dreamed of doing. Now they had been sent to defend the city, a turn of good fortune that they could hardly believe. I had to tell them that there was nothing to see, but hundreds and hundreds of frames where the paintings had hung. "Please, sir, please," one of them said, "please let us see them." And so we did. It didn't seem any stranger than all of us being here in the first place inside such a building, strolling in snow. We led them around most of the major rooms, what they could take time for, wall by wall. And now and then we stopped and we tried to tell them part of what they would see if they saw the paintings. I told them how those colors would come together in this one, and describe the brushstroke there, and a dollop here. I mentioned why a model seemed to be pouting, or why this painter got those roses wrong. The next day, a dozen waited for us. Then 30 or more. They all gathered in 2s and 3s. Each of us took a group into a different direction. Castagno, Caravaggio, Buchel, Cézanne, Matisse, Ozo, Manet, Da Vinci, Goya, Vermeer, Picasso, Uccello, your Whistler, Wood, and Groper. We pointed to more details about the paintings. I venture to say then even that they had been there. Some unexpected use of light or line, balance or movement, facing the cluster of faces, the same way we'd done it every morning before the war. But then we didn't pay so much attention to what we talked about then. People could see for themselves. As a matter of fact, sometimes we said our lines as if we learned them out of a book, without hardly looking at the paintings. But now, the guide and the listeners, they paid attention. They paid attention to everything, the simplest differences between the first and the post-impressionists, the romantic and the heroic, shade and shadow. Maybe this was to forget the war, just for a little while. Maybe more than that. Whatever it was, the people continued to come. It came to be called the Unseen Collection. But here's the story I want to tell you. Slowly, blind people came to come. First, a few, Then more and more and more of them every morning. Some led, some alone, some swaying a little. They leaned and they listened hard. They screwed their faces. They seemed to shift their eyes, those that had them, to see better what was being said. A crock of the head. My God, they paid attention. After the siege was lifted, the Germans left, the roof was fixed, the paintings were put in their places. The blind never came again, not like before. This seems strange, but what I think it was is that they couldn't see the paintings anymore. They still could have listened, but the lectures became a little matter of fact. What can I say? Confluences